Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Karmic Gacha system in Modern Family World. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 101, Oh No! General POV. At Jay's house, the old man had prepared a candlelight dinner to celebrate his first date anniversary with his new, smoking hot wife who was wearing a low-cut red dress that accentuated her figure, making every man drool in her presence. Really? We're staying at home for the anniversary? Gloria smiled with her mouth, but her eyes showed disappointment as she was expecting something more from her husband. They had finished a nice dinner together, and now were celebrating with red wine. Jay in a dashing black suit smiled and said, "Well, the surprise I have tonight is made especially for you. I don't want you to share the moment with anyone else." Jay. What present? Gloria's eyes lit up in excitement. Jay took out a small white box with blue ribbon on it and placed it on the table before sliding it to Gloria. She snatched the box from his hand gleefully and savagely ripped the ribbon off before opening the box. A pair of diamond earrings. I love it, Jay. Gloria said before she stood up while simultaneously taking off her current earring to change it into the new ones. Wait. Slow down. Jay grabbed Gloria's arm before she could run away with a soft smile on his face as she loved his first present. There's another? Gloria asked with an excited tone. Yes. But the next one doesn't cost me money, but parts of my dignity. Jay joked. Gloria tilted her head slightly in confusion. Jay saw inside before he explained, "Well, I prepared a special song for us." Her excitement was at the peak, and she said, "Did you make the song dash?" What? No. I asked someone to do it. You asked Ed, didn't you? Gloria said, her excitement deflated quickly. Jay's mouth became dry and he thought secretly to himself, I didn't expect this. Anyway. Shall we? Jay asked while romantically grabbing Gloria's hand. Gloria nodded, but she didn't seem that excited at the prospect of getting her own song. Many men had serenaded her with their own songs before, not to mention that this song didn't even come from Jay. He leads her to the living room before hitting the play button to reveal the song. This is just for you, he said in a low voice. Gloria didn't make fun of his effort and said, then. Let me hear it. He grabbed her by the waist, and they gently swayed together as they listened to the song's intro. The ukulele sound reverberated in the entire living room. Gloria widened her eyes as she heard the first line on the song, which was in Spanish. Amarte como te amo, record scratch. Ha? Jay was confused by the song stopping suddenly. Then, he heard a dreaded sound coming from the audio. Viking is taking the lead in today's match dash. Oh hell. Jay cursed as he realized he had accidentally taped yesterday's football match over the song in the CD Edward gave him. He anxiously pressed all the buttons on the home entertainment speaker, but he accidentally pressed clean disc on the option. Oh no! Jay exclaimed with widened eyes and turned to a disappointed Gloria behind him. I'll see if he's still up, Jay said quickly before taking out his phone. Edward POV. Despite my reluctance, we didn't do anything inside the shower except take a bath together. It will be bad for us if Claire waited for a long time before I came out of the room. If by any chance we were caught, then we won't be able to explain ourselves, I said using my logical thinking, making my lower body part turn depressed. So, you're not against us doing things? Haley asked slyly and with a cute quizzical head tilt. I smiled and replied, nah. So? You're not dating then? She said clearly. Huh? Why would you think I'm dating? I asked her. And nothing. I was just being dumb, she replied before turning off the shower. Haley's commentary? Okay. Good news. He's not dating. Bad news. How the hell should I tell Abby about the way I got the information? Commentary ends. Claire. Are you still there? I asked while holding the doorknob. Yes. Claire answered from outside the door. Why? Don't you think it's a bit weird and predatory to stay outside a teenage boy's bathroom door? I asked with a concerned voice, and was laughing with Haley inside the room as Claire couldn't answer the question. I got out of the room slowly, and found Claire still waiting in the hallway despite her earlier embarrassment. She smiled begrudgingly and walked to the door, before Haley closed it from behind, making my towel get stuck at the door gap. I prepared some warm milk for you in the kitchen. Go change into your pajamas first. Claire ordered. I nodded and pretended to walk casually. Claire saw that my towel was stuck at the door, and tried to stop me. Wait. Ed dash. She was too late. The towel fell down from my waist. Claire turned back hurriedly to prevent herself from seeing it. Oh my God! I exclaimed. Sorry, Claire. I'm so embarrassed. I exclaimed in fake anxiousness as I opened the toilet door wide and signaled Haley to move out. She tiptoed quickly to get to her door, while I was still distracting Claire. Have you put on the towel yet? Claire asked anxiously with her back turned against me. I looked at Haley, who gave me an okay gesture as she sneaked into her room and said, I'm done. Claire breathed in relief and turned back again, but I had already walked away from the bathroom. Also, Claire. I had already cleaned it, so you don't actually have to wait until I'm done showering. You gave me a lot of anxiety by doing that. I said as I got to Luke's bedroom door. Claire opened her mouth a few times, but no words could come out. She sighed and said, Sorry. I was being difficult for you. It's okay, Claire. I will fix the doorknob tomorrow, okay? I said with a smile before entering the room. Claire's commentary. Standing outside of the bathroom door, Claire barged into the bathroom and scanned the entirety of it before finally sighing in relief. I don't know why, but I didn't think he was alone in there. Claire said her concern. Her motherly instinct kept screaming at her, telling her something was wrong with the whole situation, especially when Ed teased her to make her go away from there. I really thought he was hiding something, that maybe he had a girl in there. But he didn't do anything wrong, and he even cleaned up the bathroom. I feel so guilty about suspecting him now. She paused for a second before saying, But still, I know, something weird is going on, I just don't know what yet. After a long silence, she confessed, Also. I got a peek under there. But not clearly. That kid is going to make a lot of girls happy dash. Commentary ends. Ha. That's weird. I muttered as I saw a text from Jay after putting on some clothes. I called him without thinking much about it, and he picked up the call almost immediately. Hey Ed. What's the rate if I want to hire you to play for the evening? This evening? What happened? I asked in confusion. Jay explained a bit and said, Look. Gloria is pissed. I'll pay you $5,000 if you get down here as quickly as you can. Sure. Let me grab my instrument. But, you need to call Claire and talk to her about it. She's curfew-ing me, and won't let me stay up late like I'm a child. I'll talk to her. Hurry up, Ed. Jay said before he ended the call. I changed into some dress clothes and walked out of the room silently without waking up Luke or Manny. Where are you going, young man? Claire said sternly as me getting out was timed at the same exact moment she came out after inspecting the bathroom. Jay will call you and explain. Also, you need to drop me off over there. I replied casually before knocking on Haley's door. Claire looked at my brazen action in bewilderment, but then she heard her phone ringtone blaring from the master bedroom. Haley opened the door while wearing only a robe, looked around carefully before whispering, You want to sleep on my bed? I rolled my eyes and said, I got a gig. Wanna come? Is Alex still awake? Nah. She is already asleep. Wait, let me change my clothes first. Haley replied with a huge grin hurriedly before closing the door right at my face. Is this payback from earlier? I muttered to myself while having an amused smile. Haley POV. What was that? Alex asked as I slammed the door. I turned toward her and replied awkwardly, nothing. Just Dad checking up on us. I shuddered in disgust as I realized I had basically called Ed Daddy, but I would not admit it to anyone ever. Wait. Damn. Why the hell did I wash my hair today? I groaned as I picked up the hairdryer to style up my hair. Alex asked, are you going out? Yeah. I replied casually. She was bewildered and asked whisperingly, are you sneaking out to a party? I don't know yet. I replied with a smile. This is him asking me out on a date, right? I blushed a little and was elated for him to finally take the initiative. The shower thing might have messed with his head, oh well. If looking at me naked changed his mind, then that means I'm just that hot. I muttered with a low voice as I dried my hair. What did you say? Alex asked puzzledly as she couldn't hear anything. No, nothing. You should sleep. Bigg day tomorrow. I replied as I turned to her before applying some makeup. I left the room after 15 minutes, and was wearing a low-cut top blouse and a miniskirt. But then I froze as I saw my mom standing in front of my bedroom door. I stammered immediately. I'm just about to call you. Hurry up, Grandpa is waiting. Mom said casually and walked away. Wait. The gig is from Grandpa? I shouted in bewilderment before I saw Ed laughing below the stairs. You bastard. I cursed at him. Do you want to come or not? Ed asked teasingly. I'll be there in a few minutes. I said after thinking about it for a while. Great. Then you'll be the last one there. Alex suddenly appeared behind me and walked past me before descending the stairs first. Edward POV. I took a deep breath to calm myself down as Claire drove us to Jay's house. Are you nervous, Ed? Claire asked as she saw I was doing the breathing exercise. Before I could answer, Haley did it for me. Yeah, Mom? It's been a while since he sang his own songs in front of other people. I smiled while wondering how she knew me so well and said, I'm not nervous. I'm just preparing my voice and my mindset. Alex added, also. You need to get back directly after singing. No dilly-dallying. There's a competition tomorrow, and I need you to be in your best condition. I'm always at my best. Anyway, don't worry about the competition. As long as I'm there, we will win, no matter what the others throw at us. Alex snorted and said, you sure brag a lot for someone who has never been in this type of competition before. Yeah. The kids in this area have to thank my parents for that one. They waited so long to let me join in to give a chance to the other kids. Haley laughed and said, you're so cocky. You mean unfounded confidence. Alex said while rolling her eyes. We're here. Claire said and stopped the car abruptly. All three of us let out a small shout before getting out of the car. Haley and Alex helped me with bringing the instrument inside the house while I brought the heavy speaker. Jay opened the door and greeted me outside the house before I could get in. Finally. Jay said with a smile and a flushed red face. I had to keep Gloria interested by opening the second bottle of wine, so I don't know how much of the song she's going to hear, but do your best. Okay. The cash? I asked. Here. Jay slid the envelope full of cash into my hand. Claire narrowed her eyes as she walked toward us and asked, are you guys dealing drugs? Why are you being so shady? And Dad, when did you even ask Ed to make a song for you in the first place? Drunk, Jay forgot that he promised to keep the deal a secret and said, well. At the party before. We made a deal. If he did this, then I couldn't poach you to my company for a period of 4 years. Oh wait. Jay turned to look at me in realization of what he had done. I opened my mouth a few times, but was too embarrassed and I walked into the house without minding Claire wanting to halt me. Inside the room, Gloria was already playing with her phone while waiting for the song. I wonder if this might be unnecessary. I muttered. Gloria turned towards me and said, "He took too long. The mood is already gone." But still put in some effort, so I don't want to disappoint him. I nodded and said, "That's why you're called the best wife." What? Ed, you sweet talker. Gloria laughed dismissively as she felt embarrassed to be called that. I set up the impromptu stage with the synthesizer at my feet and ukulele in my hand. Haley helped adjust the microphone stand height to match my sitting on a chair position and kissed my cheeks lightly for good luck before going to watch it beside her mother. Jay. Although you ruined my CD, I will still try hard to make this night a special night for the both of you. Gloria, will you take Jay's hand and move right to the center of the living room? Definitely don't mind the others, and just pretend there were only the two of you here. Gloria laughed a bit while Claire rolled her eyes and said, "I can't watch this. I'm staying outside." Even though she tried to keep an open mind, it was hard for her to see her dad becoming intimate with another woman. I smiled wryly as I saw Claire leave and said to Alex, "This song might not be good for underage girls. Shut up and play already." Alex said in annoyance, and definitely wouldn't go away from there. I nodded and started to play a soft melody using the ukulele. Jay looked into Gloria's eyes and said, "Sorry I ruined our night." "It's okay. There's still hope for you," Gloria replied before putting her head on Jay's chest as they swayed to the music. Haley groaned in disgust as she saw her grandpa being all lovey-dovey and turned her face to focus on me instead.
Amarte como te amo es complicado.
T/L, to love you like I love you is complicated. Wait. This is Spanish? Haley's eyes shook as Spanish was her weak subject. She turned to Alex, who sighed and said, "Okay. I will translate. But later."
Pensar como te pienso es un pecado.
To think about you like I do is a sin. Gloria raised one of her eyebrows and looked at Jay, who claimed he gave the lyric to Ed.
Mirar como te miro está prohibido.
To look at you like I do is forbidden. She hit Jay's chest hard and said, "You asked a 14-year-old to sing like this?" I laughed from the stage and continued professionally,
Tocarte como quiero es un delito.
To touch you like I want is a crime. Jay. Gloria widened her eyes in horror. Alex looked smittenly at me, while Haley was trying hard to understand the song. Then, Haley decided to forget about the translation and enjoyed the song instead.
Ya no sé qué hacer para que estés bien.
I don't know what to do to make you be okay.
Si apagar el sol para encender tu amanecer.
If I should turn off the sun to turn on your sunrise.
Falar en portugués, aprender a hablar francés.
Speak in Portuguese, learn to speak French.
O bajar la luna hasta tus pies.
Or bring down the moon to your feet. The change in tempo made Gloria excited, and her dance with Jay became much more energetic.
Yo solo quiero darte un beso.
I only want to give you a kiss.
Y regalarte mis mañanas.
And gift you my mornings.
Cantar para calmar tus miedos.
Sing to calm your fears.
Quiero que no te falte nada.
I don't want you to lack anything. Jay. Gloria exclaimed lovingly and placed her head on Jay's chest again. Jay's commentary. I don't even know why she's mad or why she was so touched. Edward will get mad at me when I say this, but I also lost the paper with the lyrics and translation he gave me before. Commentary ends.
Yo solo quiero darte un beso.
I only want to give you a kiss.
Llenarte con mi amor el alma.
Fill your soul with my love.
Llevarte a conocer el cielo.
Take you to explore the sky.
Quiero que no te falte nada.
I don't want you to lack anything. I turned to the girls and winked at them, making them blush. Haley decided to record the show as she needed to find out the translation later, and I had no problem with her action.
Si el mundo fuera mío te lo daría.
If I owned the world, I would give it to you.
Hasta mi religión la cambiaría.
I would even change my religion.
Porque hay tantas cosas que yo haría.
There are so many things I would do for you.
Pero tú no me das ni las noticias.
But you don't even give me the news, E/N. This is more a Spanish phrase to say that she doesn't even acknowledges him. Gloria's commentary. Now. The mood is returning, Gloria said with a smile. Also, I think, Manny can learn from Ed how to serenade a girl in Spanish. We are so passionate, so smooth. He lost interest in learning recently, and I really think that realizing this will help him. Manny's commentary. I was kinda jealous that I couldn't go there and listen to the song on my own last night. But seeing Haley's video, I had a decision to make. With Ed teaching me how to get girls, and singing a Spanish song like he does, I think I can make Jenna fall in love with me. And yes, Ed's friend, Jenna Mackenzie. Ed said she's still single. E/N, sorry little guy, you are batting out of your league, but you will find someone faced with tears of joy. Commentary ends.
Y ya no sé qué hacer para que estés bien.
And I don't know what to do to make sure you are okay.
Si apagar el sol para encender tu amanecer.
If I turn off the sun to turn on your sunrise.
Hablar en portugués, aprender a hablar francés.
Speak Portuguese or learn to speak French.
O bajar la luna hasta tus pies.
Just bring the moon down to your feet. My voice made the girls melt, and Gloria swoon. Of course, Jay received a lot of her affection for arranging this. He smiled as he knew the mood was back on.
Solo quiero darte un beso.
I only want to give you a kiss.
Y regalarte mis mañanas.
And gift you my mornings.
Cantar para calmar tus miedos.
Sing to ease your fears.
Quiero que no te falte nada.
I don't want you to lack anything. The melodies of ukulele music reverberated in the entire house. My finger moved skillfully on the strings, capturing Alex's admiration. His fingers are so nice. She blurted out unconsciously with a dazed face.
Yo solo quiero darte un beso.
I only want to give you one kiss.
Llenarte con mi amor el alma.
Fill your soul with my love.
Solo quiero darte un beso.
I only want to give you one kiss.
Quiero que no te falte nada.
No, I don't want you to lack anything. Jay and Gloria danced, and he twirled her underneath his arm before pulling her back into his embrace.
Yo solo quiero darte un beso.
I only want to give you one kiss.
Llevarte a conocer el cielo.
Take you to explore the sky. I.J. The lyrics are so romantic. Gloria muttered. They are? I mean. Of course they are. It's written for you after all. Jay said, claiming the credit.
Solo quiero darte un beso.
I only want to give you one kiss.
Quiero que no te falte nada.
I don't want you to lack anything. I slowed down the melody at the end and looked at the atmosphere in satisfaction.
Que no te falte nada.
I didn't end the song abruptly, but played the ukulele for a while as I let the music fade slowly away. Alex and Haley clapped their hands as I finished singing, but Jay walked briskly toward us in a hurry. Go. Go home. Now. Jay said as he chased us away. What? Why Grandash? Before Haley could ask, and Alex could find out, I grabbed both of their wrists and pulled them away. I said to Jay, remember to return my stuff to my house tomorrow. I will. Go now. Jay said and chased us out again. I laughed and pulled both puzzled girls to the front door before disappearing from the house, and entered Claire's minivan hurriedly. Drive, Claire. Drive. On it. Claire knew what was happening and pressed the pedal in a hurry as we ran away from there. General POV. After chasing the kids away, Jay turned back, only to find Gloria was gone from the living room. Gloria? He shouted to find out where she was. I'm in the bedroom. I'm starting with, or without you. So hurry up. Gloria said suggestively. Jay pumped his fist in excitement before running up the stairs to join her in celebrating their night together. Chapter 102, Decathlon begins. Edward POV. Oh, Jay's going to get some. Ed. That's disgusting. Alex looked at me as if I was lesser than a vermin after I made that joke. Haley too got irritated, even though her reaction was more moderate compared to Alex's. Despite them already knowing how human reproduction works, it was still too much for them to consider their old grandpa to participate in that sort of thing. I made a zipping mouth gesture and threw away the key to calm them down. Despite that, my mouthhole was open just a few seconds later. Alex, when are you going to join me on stage? Haley turned to look at us with a complicated expression on her face. Alex rolled her eyes and replied, you should make a song first. Hey. Alex, you're going to play together with Ed? Claire asked from the driver's seat. Why? Am I not good enough? Alex asked defensively. I flicked her forehead, making her groan in pain. What was that for? She growled at me. Your mom is just asking, why are you so hostile to her? I asked, making Alex freeze in realization. She turned to Claire and said in a tiny voice, sorry Mom. I'm too anxious about tomorrow, so I took it out on you. Claire covered her mouth and had a touched expression. She said, it's okay Alex. You guys will do well tomorrow. Because why? Because you're all a bunch of superstars. Alex rolled her eyes while Haley laughed at her sister's misery. After we got to the Dunphys' home, Claire immediately ordered us to go and sleep although it was only 11 o'clock. We didn't argue with her though, and promptly went to the bed to get some shut-eye. Damn. Where should I sleep? I muttered helplessly as both beds were already taken by Luke and Manny. Not to mention their cacophony of snores, I saw Luke's drool dripping from the top bed to the bottom, and the drops falling only inches away from where Manny's head was. So, I'm not going to bunk with Manny. I muttered. After changing my clothes into pajamas, I went back out and walked to the living room downstairs with a pillow and a blanket. I activated the rest skill as I laid down on the couch, and within 30 seconds, I was transported to dreamland. That was a metaphor. In the 4 hours of sleep I got after activating the rest skill, it even prevented me from dreaming as it targeted the most efficient way for me to handle my sleep, or so I thought. Yawn, what time is it? I muttered as I checked my phone when I woke up, feeling refreshed. Oh boy. It's 3 a.m. Time for a Krabby Patty. Although I was hungry and could eat at this time, unfortunately there weren't any burgers around. I went to brush my teeth and opened my laptop before studying about the competition. Although I joked about it before, I could use a burger right about now. I said while holding my grumbling stomach. I went to the fridge, but I didn't feel comfortable opening it and snooping around without the house owner's consent, so I just picked an apple that was in a fruit bowl on top of the kitchen island. Suddenly, my phone buzzed as I was reading about the expansion of the universe on the couch. Taylor, hey, you're up? I smiled at the text message and replied. Ed, I'm always up. Taylor, good. Check this out. Edward Newgate failed marketing strategy at BuzzFeed.com. She sent me a link, and I clicked on it quickly. But then, it redirected me to a YouTube video about a goat screaming in full volume. However, the prank failed as I always kept the volume off in my phone. Ed, didn't work. Taylor, damn it. Ed, how's your concert? Taylor, it was fine. It'll be better if you're there though. Ed, I know. Your fans love me more than you. So it'll be a better experience for them too. Taylor, go F yourself. Taylor, image.jpg? That reminds me. I should include more GIFs in the overall GIFs collections. She didn't stay online for long and went to sleep after talking about her day for a few minutes. She talked about a few things, such as how many men tried to hit on her today, which I presume she shared with me to make me jealous, and about how tired she was from the concerts. She would have to fly to Ohio later on, and next Philadelphia. It'll take weeks for her to get back before she has to prepare for the summer concert and music festivals next. Taylor, when will you start your tour? Ed, honestly, I don't know yet. I could do it after this week, but I still wanted to participate in a few school events. I won't get out of LA for now though. Maybe go to Las Vegas, but that's it. Taylor, wait. I know a few concert staff in Vegas. If you played it only for the VIPs, you can earn an easy $10 million a night. Ed, should I strip for them too? Not that I have any reservation for it, but I just don't want to be put on the spot while I'm there. Taylor, oh yeah. If you're going to strip on stage, then the old money bags will throw their golden dentures on stage for you. I look forward to that. LOL.emoticon. Despite the jokes, I got to thinking about the matter seriously. When should I start my tour, and my next concert? Should I make Pepper prepare for it now? I still need to investigate Coldplay here and get in contact with Chris Martin. Taylor, hey, can we do a video call? Ed, sure. The phone rang for a short few seconds before I picked up the FaceTime request from Taylor. She was laying down on the bed and suddenly said, hey. Sing me something. A lullaby? No. The song you sang to me before. There's no recording of it, so I cannot find it online. Okay. But I don't have my instruments with me. I said. There is a piano in the living room, but I'm afraid of disturbing the Dunphys. Taylor scoffed and said, you must be glad to be sleeping with two girls. Sisters even. Well, that is every guy's dream, but honestly, there's too many people here. I can't wait to go back to my house. She smiled a bit before pretending to be angry again. I don't care. Sing it to me. I scratched my cheek and said, all right. Just this once. She smiled from ear to ear with an expression that said, as if, and waited patiently for me to start while hugging her pillow. I cleared my throat before I started to sing using a calm and gentle voice as if I was singing a lullaby. I guess Peter Pan was right, growing up's a waste of time, so I think I'll fly away. Set a course for brighter days, find the second star, I'm Soren, and then straight on to the morn. I know that I'll be fine, 'cause I know Peter Pan was right. I wanted to continue, but I saw Taylor had already fallen asleep. Seriously? She must have been so tired. I muttered as I waved at the screen a few times, but she wasn't reacting. Then, I heard a slight snore coming from the other side of the screen. I laughed a bit and screen recorded the video chat for half a minute before saying, good night, Taylor. Sweet dreams. I cut off the call soon after. With a sigh, I returned to studying, and could only continue for 5 minutes before I was interrupted yet again. My heart almost dropped when the girl with messy hair suddenly appeared beside me with a glass of water in her hand. Hey! What are you doing up? Haley asked groggily as she went down to the kitchen to grab a glass of water, but saw me studying in the living room instead of sleeping in the bedroom. You can't sleep again? She asked with difficulty of opening her eyes. One of her eyes was half open, and the other one remained shut. No, I'm already dash. Before I could finish my words, Haley had already sat down next to me and hugged me. She patted my arms comfortingly and said, it must be tough, not be able to use your sleeping support when she's just in the next room from you. I laughed a bit, but Haley suddenly dragged me to lay down on the couch. She intertwined her legs with mine, and nuzzled her head deeply into my chest as we fit together on the tiny couch. I'm already up, Haley. I explained with a soft smile as I noticed what she was doing. It's 4 a.m. You should go to sleep, Haley said decisively and closed her eyes as she fell asleep while wrapping her arms around me. I sighed and cuddled with her. At least I planned on doing so until she got back to sleep. However, I underestimated her influence in my life. Her hand suddenly grabbed my butt and she gave a few tight squeezes while pretending to be asleep. I looked at her sleeping face before tracing her eyebrow with my fingers, and then traced her jawline lovingly. She flushed red despite trying not to care about it, but then my fingers turned vicious and I pinched her nose. Are you pretending to be asleep? I asked. Nasally, no. Haley replied with a tiny voice. I laughed and released my finger, leaving her with a perceptible red tint on her nose. I kissed it and pulled her closer to me before letting her be and reading the materials I had printed with one hand. Damn it! Why am I sleepy? I thought with a yawn as I tried to read the study materials. Without me realizing it, I fell asleep soon after Haley. We stayed with each other for a few hours until the sun went up. Claire's POV. As usual, I woke up at 6 in the morning and began my daily struggle of getting my children out of the door in time for them to get to school. First, I began with preparing breakfast for them, and also to make some coffee. Then, I turned on the laptop and checked the company's overnight trip and the ship's current status to make sure they weren't lost at sea while I was asleep. Oh yeah. The maintenance is today. I muttered before texting the ship repairer and cleaners to remind them about their appointment with us to prevent any delays in the schedules. Did I put out the extra bed for Ed or not? I wondered as I cooked the pancakes. But, since Ed didn't say anything last night, I thought I had already done so, and continued cooking with a peace of mind. I placed the pancakes on the dining table, when I suddenly saw a male leg hanging from the couch. Ed? I muttered as I walked to the living room. Then, I froze as I saw what was happening there. My face contorted in puzzlement as I tried to process the scene happening in front of me. I stood there for over 20 minutes to process what was happening. Honey! I smell pancakes. Phil, my husband, ran excitedly to the kitchen after following the smell as if he was a cartoon character, and stopped as he saw me. What's going on? He asked as he walked near the living room. I pointed the thing on the couch to him, in which he responded, "Ah, look at them so cute together with their head nuzzling dash." Phil! I shouted in anger before slapping Haley's leg. Wake up! I shouted. Both Haley and Ed woke up with a jerk. They were both still groggy, and didn't understand why I was mad. Mom! What's with you? That's a rude way to wake someone up, Haley said with a hoarse voice. I fumed in anger as I said, "Explain yourself." Huh? Explain what? Haley asked in confusion. This might just be me, but I think, and seriously, this is just me, I think, she's mad because she saw us sleeping together? Ed said, acting as if this was all a big joke. Ed! Do you even know what you were doing? I said, moments away before having one of my big freak-out episodes. Phil hugged me from the side and said hurriedly to comfort me and to allow the kids to explain themselves. Haley, why don't you tell your mom what's going on before she exploded into tiny little angry mom pieces? Phil. I admonished him, but honestly I thanked his calmness in dealing with this kind of things. Haley tried to answer, but Ed interrupted her. It's all my fault, Mrs. Dunphy. I have insomnia. Last night, Haley saw me in the living room, so she tried go get me to sleep, and will not be going away if I don't try. As you can see, she succeeded, that's it. That's it? I asked with a confused, but still angry tone. That's it. Ed replied decisively while Haley nodded. I calmed down a bit and processed the whole thing before asking, since when did you have insomnia? I don't know. 1 or 2 years. Ed replied, making me feel a pang of guilt for suspecting him. I crossed my arms and asked, so you guys didn't do anything else? Do what? Haley asked with a yawn, making me the one who's embarrassed. Don't play with me, Haley. Did you only just sleep? Ed and Haley looked at each other for a while before turning back to me with isn't it obvious expression on their face and said, yeah. Phil believed them almost immediately and said, "So that's it. Who wants pancakes?" "I do. I have been starving," Ed replied before he got out of the couch and went to the kitchen. Phil met him halfway and greeted him with a pat on the shoulder. "If you're hungry, why don't you just eat a midnight snack last night?" "Well, I don't want to be rude. I had an apple last night, so I'm sorry for that." My anger went away quickly when I heard he had been starving himself just because he didn't get my permission to open the fridge. I sighed and walked to the duo and said, "Don't apologize. I'm the one who's sorry. Just treat this like your own house next time, Ed. If you're hungry, just find something to eat. I won't hold it against you." Ed smiled helplessly and replied with an awkward voice, "Oh, okay." I almost rolled my eyes at him, but at the same time I felt deep sadness inside my heart as I thought about the ways he had been living. He must feel deep distrust for the adults. Thank God his therapy is tomorrow. Edward POV. Hurry up, Alex. We're going to be late. Claire shouted while Phil was in front of me, helping me fix my tie as I had changed into a black suit with green lining on the collar and front jacket, and the school emblem was sewed at the front pocket. "We're not late at all," Alex said exasperatingly as she hurried down with a matching girl uniform, but with yellow lining instead of the green lining. "And, you. Seriously, you made yourself a Slytherin?" "Yeah. It will be easy for me to Slytherin, your Chamber of Secrets later." Alex rolled her eyes before Claire caught her and said, "Now that Ed had designed a uniform that made you look pretty, you should at least do makeup a little bit." "No, Moem." Alex tried to protest, but Haley and Claire had already encircled her like vultures eating their prey. "Haley, give me the mascara," Claire asked. "Which one?" Haley said as she took out 6 mascara tubes that she held in a Wolverine pose. Alex couldn't believe what was happening and glared at me as if saying this was all my fault. I rubbed my nose and said, "So? Haruna had gotten her uniform right?" "Sanjay too, no thanks to you," Alex replied. Why? What's with Sanjay?" Claire asked. "Can't you believe he's not going to give him a team uniform?" Alex said as she pointed at me. I coughed twice and defended myself. "The uniform isn't obligatory. I only did this for fun." "Yeah. But if Mrs. Henderson doesn't catch you, you would only give the uniforms to Haruna, me, and the substitute player, leaving Sanjay out." "I hate him as much as you do, but that's so childish, isn't it? Like I said, I just forgot," I argued. Honestly, I really did forget. Maybe it's because I didn't treat him like a teammate at all, but I had sent the uniform that I designed to him, despite him being the only one that had to pay for it. I didn't make it myself, but instead I ordered them from Pepper's friend who ran a boutique. "Is he a Gryffindor then?" Claire asked. "Gryffindor doesn't like Slytherin, right? Like hell I give him Gryffindor," I retorted, causing Haley to laugh. "He's General POV. Sanjay's house. Hufflepuff. He gave me Hufflepuff." Sanjay screamed in frustration as he put on his team uniform. His dad, an Indian neurosurgeon, rubbed the suit he wore and said, "This material is so nice. Is this suede? I want one too." "Dad!" Sanjay shouted before he rolled his eyes. The decathlon team meets up at the school before they ride a school bus together to go to the competition venue. Edward was surprised when he saw the substitute player who came in with a matching Ravenclaw suit as Alex. Hey Ed. This is so nice," Enid said as she twirled to show off her uniform. "Why, are you here?" Edward asked. The substitute dropped out. "So I'm the substitute for the substitute," Enid said casually. Edward smiled and patted her head before saying, "I'm glad it's you. And you look damn nice." "I know, right?" Enid screamed in excitement as the bus entered Dryden Academy grounds. "Wait. Did the venue change?" Ed asked as he noticed the school. Mrs. Henderson, who was dressed in a casual white blouse and long black skirt, replied, yes. They sponsored the competition after all. The bus stopped at the parking lot near the football field. The group all disembarked off the bus in a calm manner as they were mesmerized by the surroundings. The school is very beautiful, Enid muttered. Too bad the benchmark for going here is that your parents must be a multi-millionaire. Alex scoffed despite the awe she felt. Hey, look out! Suddenly, a stray football flew across the parking lot and almost hit Alex's face. She flinched in horror and closed her eyes, but the pain she expected to have did not come. She opened her eyes slowly, only to see Ed had caught the ball directing towards her in a casual manner. Let the mind games begin. Ed muttered, confident that the accident was a scheme by the opposition. A young, tall African boy ran towards the team in a worrying manner and apologized the moment he stopped in front of them. In a Nigerian accent, he said, I'm sorry. I didn't look where I was kicking. Ed gave the guy another look and replied with a smile, nah. It's okay. People can make a mistake. The guy sighed in relief with a smile on his face. He put his hand out for a handshake and said, I'm Sam Abasanya. I just came from Nigeria, and I really thought the football club I registered to is for football. Ed laughed without the others understanding why, and he replied to Sam, yeah. Americans are weird. They call football soccer here. I'm Edward. You can just call me Ed. Nice to meet you, Ed. Sam said. Sam smiled at the friendliness and turned to Alex, the almost victim. And you pretty girl. I'm really sorry. Alex was flabbergasted while Enid got excited for her. She pushed her friend forward, making Alex stand beside Edward. PR pretty? You are very pretty. Sam flirted. Alex turned to Edward to see if the football player was messing with her, only to find Ed nodding along to Sam's word. Yeah. She's very pretty. Ed muttered, making Alex's face turn red. Sanjay gritted his teeth before harumping away, and Enid kept going kawaii in the background as she imagined the scene of two boys fighting for Alex's affection. Can I get your number? Sam tried to ask, but Ed pushed him away lightly and turned his body back so he would face the field. See? Your coach is calling for you. I have no coach. Sam tried to explain. 14 go long. Ed yelled to the team playing. The chubby boy with the number 14 on his shirt sighed and ran quickly before Ed threw the ball towards him with extreme precision and strength. The entire football field was silent as they saw Ed's skill. How many yards is that? The football coach asked hurriedly as he saw a potential star. The assistant coach anxiously replied, wait a second, it's almost 65 yards, I guess. And he did it while wearing a suit. Back to the Franklin Middle School team, Ed whistled as he saw number 14 caught his throw. You guys got skills. How did you do that? Sam widened his eyes in surprise and tried to ask, but Ed waved him goodbye and said, sorry Sam. We will talk later. I need to go inside the venue. The competition is going to start. Chapter 103, Decathlon 1. Edward POV. Our team of charming, attention-gathering, well-dressed intellectuals, minus Sanjay, entered the auditorium where the competition was going to be held. Damn Dryden and their bottomless wealth. Enid cursed underneath her breath as she noticed the size of the auditorium was at least 5 times the size of our school's assembly hall. And this place wasn't even part of their main building. I nodded at her remarks and added, they are a private school after all. Even their teachers are well paid, not like ours who could barely live from their income. Mrs. Henderson nodded slightly as she led us to the registration table. Atlas and Gamma aren't here yet. We're the first visitors to arrive. Alex said after observing the surroundings. She frowned and added, we're too early. I patted her head slightly, making her calm down a bit. It's okay. We can take the time to prepare. Although, I don't think I can join you guys for a last-minute study session, nor do I think us coming here early was a mistake on the organizer's part. I took a look at a few old men walking hurriedly to where I was standing with a greasy smile on their faces. Haruna, the Japanese girl who received the Gryffindor-themed uniform, walked to the stage to do a mic check, causing some laughter. And here is Mr. Newgate with his new song, Be Spells with there but before she could sing my new song, she was chased out of the stage. /N, banger song, bees can talk by moving there but... Ha? Why'd you think that? Alex asked in confusion before she was pushed away by the old man's march. Mr. Newgate. The old school administrator almost ran to where I was standing with a surprisingly spring in his steps despite being over the age of 60. With a handlebar mustache and a suit that was too big for a man of his small size, the stout-bodied administrator forcefully grabbed my hand and vigorously shook it up and down. Wow! I can't believe I managed to meet a prodigal artist right in the flesh, he said excitedly. I flashed an insincere smile as I pretended to care as part of my deal with Mrs. Henderson to behave today. As I saw her face carrying traces of fatigue, I decided not to give her any headaches today, and I almost broke my internal promise the moment I met these bootlickers. Another tall and lanky man in a dark brown suit and red tie, who introduced himself as the school's vice principal, shook my hand after the administrator. After the initial greeting, the vice principal said apologetically to us all, I'm sorry for the mix-up. The competition will start 2 hours from now. To show you our apologies, how about, I take all of you Franklin Middle School students for a special tour around our Dryden Academy. He offered sincerely, without any ulterior motives at all. As if. I retorted inwardly, but I didn't say anything despite the obvious schemes of the private school. But at the very least he's going to take all of us around. So we could kill some time. As I turned to the scowling Alex, I mumbled, but, to say that they were going to like it is a whole other thing. Be back in an hour. Mrs. Henderson reminded us before she sat on a chair nearby. I turned to her and asked in a low voice, Are you okay? I'm fine, Mr. Newgate. Thank you for asking. Now, don't keep the representatives waiting. I smirked as I almost caught her lacking and said, Okay. We will go now. Have some rest. If you want something to eat, just ask one of the staff. I said before calling one of the staff members and slipping her $100 to tend to the teacher. Anything she wants. Okay? The staff member nodded before moving towards Mrs. Henderson to give her some breakfast while she asked another staff member to go and buy some coffee for the teacher. Mrs. Henderson turned to where I was standing with a perplexed face. However, as I waved to her, she smiled softly instead and didn't hold back anymore in asking the staff for a seat cushion to make herself more comfortable. We visited the cafeteria, where the quality of the food there was on par with a 3-star Michelin restaurant, and the computer lab was equipped with a state-of-the-art system. Although, after I pressed a few buttons, I almost broke down their entire prided system, causing the administrator to pull me away hurriedly. This here is the pride of Dryden Academy, our art and humanities building. The lanky vice principal announced as we arrived at a humongous building, with Greek-style pillars on the front. Haruna's eyes glittered as she saw the building, and she asked, This is the famed Archimedes Dash. What do you think, Mr. Newgate? Want to check out inside the building? The vice principal interrupted her before she could even finish asking. I glanced at the slighted Haruna and looked at the VP in unmasked contempt, but the old guys there were too presumptuous to actually understand what I was feeling. Sure, I said before entering the building with my teammates. However, I decided to be extra critical in all of my evaluations, turning the old men flustered. Do you want to test our music room? The administrator said fearfully while wiping his imaginary sweat on his forehead with a white napkin. No need. Let's move on to someplace else, I said with disinterest, causing the old guys to be perplexed. They looked at each other before asking, then. Let's check out the amphitheater dash. What about the science program? Alex asked. Oh, I'm sure Mr. Newgate won't be interested in that, the stout-bodied administrator said with a laugh as if he had just heard a joke. And why is that exactly? I asked in a cold, bone-chilling voice. The VP slapped the administrator's shoulder and clicked his tongue secretly before saying, No. He's just old and confused. Come. Let me show you our science program building. I wonder if there are still sponsorships for brilliant students to enter this school. Sanjay muttered to himself. However, the VP and the administrator heard that, took a second look at the Indian kid and replied condescendingly, "Unfortunately, our minority and diversity quota are already filled out for next year." The VP even took a glance at Haruna while saying that. Alex almost exploded, but I held her back and said with a kind smile, "I see. I understand. That meant, being half Cuban, I couldn't get the sponsorship too, right? Ha! Oh no, Mr. Newgate, however full our scholarship quotas may be, we do still offer talented young men and women opportunities when they excel in their own areas, and dare I say your musical talent certainly fills that criteria." The VP tried to retort. "Unfortunately, I no longer have any interest in the classical music programs that are offered here. Also, while I would love to practice my songs here, I am afraid what I've seen would hinder my progress greatly," I said with a slight chuckle before I herded my teammates away from the administrator and the VP. "Wait a second, Mr. Newgate dash," the administrator shouted anxiously. I turned to him with a sweet smile on my face and said, "And oh, I noticed a lot of your instruments seem to have been a little overused. And while the hardware quality of your state-of-the-art computer lab is indeed exceptional, your software severely limits its use. I could give you a technician phone number if you want." The VP face flushed red while the administrator started to sweat profusely. Enid checked her wristwatch before dragging Haruna and Sanjay away. "I believe that's all the time we have for the tour today. I need to get back to the venue, otherwise I wouldn't be able to win today's competition if I'm not physically there." The two old men snorted as they didn't believe my words at all. How could they, when a young teenager who had never achieved excellence in any academic records said he was going to destroy a rich private school team that had been cultivated properly and have an insane winning track record in almost all national competitions? I returned back to the competition venue in a bad mood, when suddenly I heard a familiar voice calling for me. "Edward!" I turned to the source and my face beamed up as I saw Dr. Leonard Hostetter waving towards me as he made his way to where I was standing. "Leonard! How nice is it to see you? Why are you here?" I asked. Leonard instead took a look at my uniform and whistled in amazement. "God! Slytherin? Is there a Hufflepuff?" "I like the Hufflepuff house." "Yeah. The blue one is Hufflepuff," I said as I pointed at Sanjay. "Well, most people would say he's brown," a greasy voice made a joke from beside us, and I saw a short Jewish man with a red dickie standing closely at Leonard's side. "Well, he's more of a caramel, you know, the color of Halle Berry's skin," another voice retorted with an Indian accent, and I saw an Indian astrophysicist in a gaudy brown suit and a horrendous sweater vest admonishing his Jewish friend. "I was talking about his suit, but whatever," I added, causing the trio to chuckle. "Hi. Howard Joel Wolowitz, a fan, and a Master of Engineering from MIT University, at your service," Howard said with a slight bow. "Dr. Rajesh Kuthrapalli, Ph.D. in Astrophysics. I'm not offering my service. I just want to introduce myself," Rajesh said with a gleeful and innocent smile. "Also, I like you, but I love Taylor. Nice to meet you guys," I said as I shook hands with both of them. "Although I'm glad to get acquainted with you, I do wonder, why are you here?" "Oh. That. The dean, Professor Gabelhauser, couldn't come today, so he asked for volunteers to become members of the panel today," Leonard explained. "So, which of you guys are the panel members?" I asked with a slight smile. But then, all of them smiled wryly, making me frown in realization. "Oh no. Well, look what the cat dragged in." A condescending voice sounded from behind me. I turned around helplessly and said, "Hello, Sheldon. It's Dr. Cooper for you in case you still don't know who I am. Let me make it clear for your underdeveloped teenage brain. I'm your worst nightmare," Sheldon said as he flashed the panel layered name tag inches away from my face. Sheldon volunteered as the judge after Dr. Gabelhauser relegated the task to anyone who was willing. He jumped on the first chance he got just to say this. "Now, I'm not saying that everything that comes out from your mouth will be wrong, but I'm sure it will. Prepare for a rigorous judgment process where you, and the rest of your team, hey, where are you going? Before Sheldon could finish his words, I turned to the staff member walking by and stopped her. I asked, did you hear what he just said? Why, yeah. This counts as a conflict of interest in the judges' table. I formally requested Dr. Sheldon Cooper to be removed from the panel. Hey, you can't do that. Sheldon tried to protest, but Howard walked toward the staff member and said, if I could say something about it, I witnessed the whole thing. And what Ed said is 100% true, and we all support it. Hey! Sheldon exclaimed. Motion accepted. I will discuss it with the organizer. The staff member replied. No. The staff member snatched the name tag from Sheldon's neck, causing him to exclaim, why are you so strong? Hey, you can't do this. He tried to protest, but no one would speak for him. Even his best friend Leonard was relieved when he saw Sheldon was removed from the panel. Then, the staff member returned to where we were standing. Sheldon perked up and said, so, you come to beg me to become a panel member back dash. Dr. Hofstadter, will you be willing to enter the board of judges in this game? Sheldon was thoroughly offended by the entire ordeal, which made my stomach hurt from holding back my laughs. I couldn't talk to the foursome for too long and returned to be with the members of my team. The first match will be us against Dryden, Alex said with a grimace. All of the team members were frowning, which made me perplexed. Why are you guys already feeling defeated before the game even begins? Their empty gazes turned into burning anger, but before I could ask what happened, I felt a tug on my sleeves. I turned and saw Enid, who then stood on her toes to whisper something in my ears. She explained what happened when I wasn't there, where the team met with the players from Dryden Academy, and was defeated in the Thrash Talk mind games. They said they will throw us a few questions, for us not to completely humiliate ourselves as their mercy. They also said their teacher is one of the panel members, and looking forward to playing against us. I nodded as I heard Enid's report and turned to the rest of the team. So that's it. A bunch of snobs said some bad words about our team, and now you guys are giving up? Never. Alex said with gritted teeth. Haruna was a bit more realistic and said, we cannot win first place anyway. Luckily, we can still vie for third place if we do it well dash. Nah. You're thinking too pessimistically. Don't worry. With me around, we can get first place. Although I tried to motivate the group, they had never once seen me in action before, and couldn't help but not trust my words. I knew why, therefore I didn't speak much. Hey! How many points did they say they were going to throw at us so as to not let us get humiliated? I asked. Ha! 3 questions. Why? Enid replied. I smirked evilly and said, nothing. Instead of the Quidditch game, exciting announcer, the decathlon was led by an old man with a hunched back and a drowsy voice, making it impossible for the player and audience to not fall asleep as he gave his speech. The first match will be between the Franklin Middle School team and the Dryden Academy team. The old man announced. Both of the team members walked to the stage and sat side by side with the moderator's podium erected in between the town team. The Dryden boys were all dressed in a blue blazer with Dryden logo on their left chest, and had the snobbish air of holier-than-thou around them. They have a pretty punchable face. I muttered as I saw their faces for the first time. Alex snorted before suppressing her laugh. They look awesome. I wonder if we can buy those uniforms for our physics cup. Rajesh said as he saw our Franklin team enter the arena. The nerd's passion was instigated by the Hogwarts-themed uniform, and some audience members couldn't help but snap a photo of us as we posed on the stage. Nah. I don't think so. He made it on his own. Howard said. Sheldon snorted and argued, unless he puts copyright claims on it, we can do whatever we want. Yeah. But you have to design it yourself. Can you? Howard asked teasingly, making Sheldon cover his face with his shirt in embarrassment. The decathlon rule was announced. The first 10 questions would be counted as 10-point answers each, and the next 10 question points would be decided by the moderator based on the difficulty of the questions. Reveal, the golden snitch. the moderator said at the start of the game. Then, a covered-up whiteboard was rolled to the side of the stage. The staff quickly removed the cover after getting the signal from the moderators, revealing complex mathematical questions on the board. "Why golden snitch?" Haruna asked. Alex sighed and explained, "To relate with the younger students, of course." "Ah. To gain their attention. Thanks, Alex." I glanced at our team's side of the board and then turned to face the audience to focus on the moderator's question instead. Alex and Sanjay both began to scribble on a piece of paper provided by the organizer to find out the answer for the golden snitch question, but they weren't serious in doing so, while one diversity hire, a Chinese kid from Dryden Academy, did the same thing to find out the answer for their question. It's very rare for a team to be able to answer the golden snitch question after all. Haruna whispered to explain the situation to me. I didn't correct her and say that I was familiar with the rules, but instead shot a smirking glance at Mrs. Henderson down at the audience seat. She sighed and mouthed to me, "Wait until you answer 10 questions. I nodded to her without replying. The first question is an easy one. What is the chemical formula for monosodium glutamate? Alex perked up and tried to press the buzzer, but I stopped her. She turned to me with a puzzled look, before the chance was snatched by the opposite team. C5H8NO4. Now one member from Dryden answered with a smug face. Then, he made a thumbs-down gesture to us to demotivate us. "Why do you stop me?" "I know that," Alex said frustratingly. I smiled at her and patted her head softly so as to not ruffle her hair and said, "Just trust me." Haruna raised her eyebrow at me, and decided not to interfere as she had already given up on this match inside her heart. Sanjay was still focusing on the golden snitch question, therefore I was only placating Alex. I gave up the next 2 questions, allowing Dryden to lead the match with 30 points ahead of us. Haha, losers. The middle school students became juvenile as they saw our helplessness in this match. Alex started biting her nails in frustration, and even wondered if I was secretly bought off by the opposition team. Haruna closed her eyes as she accepted defeat, and Sanjay was still focusing on the question. I turned to Dryden Academy and suddenly said something to them. "Do you guys remember what you said to my team before the competition started?" Mr. Newgate, players are reminded that they couldn't interfere with Dash before the Dryden Academy panel member could reprimand me. Leonard interfered with him and said, "Don't worry. Ed is a polite kid." What? Dryden Academy leader, Ivan, asked in displeasure as he was forced to respond to me. "You told us, you're giving us a chance to answer 3 questions first as part of your mercy," I continued. The Dryden snobs laughed as they thought I wanted to claim what they promised right now as my team was losing, but I didn't continue and turned to the audience once more, making the opposition team confused. "Oh shit. I got it," Howard said with a big laugh. "What is it?" Rajesh asked him whisperingly, his eyes not moving away from my team. "Simple, Rajesh. They trash-talked them by giving 3 questions as part of their mercy. But Ed actually gave them his." Howard shared his hypothesis confidently. "Even Sheldon couldn't help but give his respect to me as I did it. Hopefully he has something to back up his arrogance." Sheldon muttered to himself. Chapter 104, Decathlon 2. General POV. In the topic of optics, what is the shortest light pulse ever produced? 130 attoseconds. Edward pressed the buzzer and answered in a split second after the answer was thrown out, making the Dryden team groan in frustration. That is correct. The old moderator announced with a happy face, but with no emotional changes in his voice. What is the lightest element on Earth, with no stable isotopes? The moderator asked the next question. Technetium. Edward answered again with incredible speed. And that is correct. The moderator announced again. The score was now 130-30, with the Franklin Middle School team holding a tight leash on the lead, putting the Dryden Academy team into despair. Formal protest, only one person is answering the question. The Dryden Academy team leader stood up and accused Edward after he failed to answer 9 straight questions, courtesy of Edward's incredible question-solving speed. Motion denied. The moderator said before any of the panel could discuss the request. He must be cheating. He's a game developer. He must have hacked the question maker's laptop and read all of the answers beforehand. Dryden panel members accused Edward without evidence. That's impossible. Dr. Leonard Hofstadter spoke on the microphone to defend Edward. The accused boy just looked coldly at the panel member with a smug undertone in his expression. What do you know? Dryden Academy panel members tried to dismiss Leonard's defense. I know because Dr. Jacob Turnstein, the moderator and also the winner of the Nobel Prize in Physics in the year 1992, is standing on stage. He's also the one who made the questions, and he had never once used a laptop in his life. Leonard explained, much to the panel members' embarrassment. After some laughter, Dryden's team leader shouted at the Asian kid who was working on the snitch, "We need that TO win. That is worth 300 points. How much longer are you going to work on it?" The leader kept nagging and shouting at the Asian kid in urgency, causing him to snap. The Asian kick exploded in anger, threw off his entire body over the table and ran to the whiteboard containing the question before he tried to destroy it. "You ruined my life," he shouted to the innocent whiteboard as he hit his head on the board, destroying parts of it. We're going to take a break. Everyone else, please stay calm," Leonard said quickly to the microphone before he went to help the kid who lost his sanity from the question. "I told you. That question is too much for a middle school student," Howard muttered to Rajesh, who nodded in agreement with him. "Please. I solved that equation when I was 9 years old," Sheldon added in a condescending manner. However, instead of his friends being impressed with him, they let out a groan in disgust. On top of the stage, Haruna whispered to Edward. "That is normal. Mental breakdown is normal during a middle schooler's competition?" Edward widened his eyes in disbelief as he saw Leonard hugging the Asian boy from behind to try and subdue him, but failing. "You'd be surprised," Alex muttered, adding to Edward's shock. "Sheldon. Howard. Raj. Help me," Leonard shouted to his friend with a flushed red face as he couldn't stop the boy alone. "Oh, how I wish I had popcorn to enjoy this right now," Howard muttered from his seat with no intention of going up the stage to help. It took 5 minutes for the Asian boy to be exchanged with another Asian boy, and those who couldn't discern between Asian people were now wondering how the staff member managed to calm the boy down in just a short period of time. During the chaos, Sanjay sighed in frustration as he couldn't find the answer for the golden snitch question. "I guess we have to give up on the snitch," Sanjay muttered. Edward clicked his tongue, and before he could say he had already solved the question, he saw Mrs. Henderson signaling him. Edward was confused, but then understood what was going on as he read the teacher's lip. "Don't solve it on your own. Teach Sanjay to do it. Otherwise, the team will stop functioning." Edward paused for a while as he thought about the matter. "True. I can solve it, but it'll break the dynamic of the team. I should do it, when Sanjay truly cannot do it." "Hey Hufflepuff," Edward called the Indian boy. "Shut up, Slytherin," Sanjay retorted. "On second thought." Edward grimaced, but he saw Mrs. Henderson egging on him with her facial expression, causing him to sigh and followed the order. "Let me take a look at your calculation. Here." Unexpectedly for Edward, Sanjay gave him the paper without any hassle, making him a bit perplexed. Alex snorted and said, "He knows how to behave when necessary. Unlike someone else." "Who? Haruna?" Edward thwarted the accusation, making Haruna perplexed. Edward grabbed a pencil and showed Sanjay where he did wrong. He guided him slowly, and even told him what method he should use. He then asked, "Can you do it now?" "I need some time. But I think I can," Sanjay replied with his eyes lit up. "I'll try to stall for it, but if you cannot do it before the last question, then I cannot do anything about it." "I know," Sanjay replied before putting all of his focus on solving the equation once more. But this time, Alex and Haruna joined their effort with Sanjay. If we can solve it, we will be the first team in the entire decathlon competition to actually solve a golden snitch question. Alex muttered to herself with excitement in her tone. The chaos finally subsides, and the competition resumes. List out the Earth's important eons, the moderator asked. Edward pressed the buzzer first as usual, and then he replied, well, after the Big Bang, the first eon Earth faced is Hadean, where the land is filled with lava. Wrong. The Dryden teacher in the panel made a wrong buzzer sound with his mouth and tried to stop Edward, but all of the PhD members there looked at him in confusion. Mr. Hiles, you know the rules. You shouldn't interrupt a student when he's answering. You're now removed from being one of the panels, the moderator said sternly. Wait, what? But he's wrong. Hiles tried to fight, but he was soon kicked out from the judges' table. His replacement? The caramel skin astrophysicist who never even thought he's going to sit at the judges' table today. Please continue, Mr. Newgate, the moderator said. Edward nodded and shared the rest of the important Earth development eons, continuing from Archean to Proterozoic, and then to Phanerozoic eons. He took his time, and even spoke about the time range, and the possible species living during the time frame. Perfect mark, Mr. Newgate. I will give you 50 points for that answer, the judges' panel said after analyzing Edward's answer. They couldn't even find the tiniest flaw in it, making Edward receive an additional 10 points reward for a 40-point questions. I'm formally protesting it. What the F is Hadean? Hiles shouted from the audience seat. Sheldon turned to face him and said angrily, the first Earth's eon after the Big Bang. If you actually listened to his answer, you would know. Edward and the rest of the audience laughed at Mr. Hiles, making him flush in embarrassment. However, his face was thick enough for him to stay there and didn't storm out, as he was still wishing for a turnover in this whole situation. The moderator continued with his question, in which Edward replied with the greatest details possible, thoroughly awing the doctoral members in the venue today. A lot of the audience members were already half asleep, but nevertheless most of the audience still kept their interest in the competition. Edward smiled as he answered the 19th question, but he was actually struggling inside. He could see Sanjay, Alex and Haruna were on the brink of solving the golden snitch question, but he also saw that the other team member was also almost there, or at least what he assumed by the boy's constant writing on the notepad in front of him. Alex, this is the last question. Can you guys do it? Edward asked whisperingly. We still need some time. Just a few more minutes, Alex said anxiously while running the calculation for Sanjay. Right now, the point was at 320 to 30. Dryden Academy only had one chance left to answer the golden snitch question before Edward answered the last question, which was allocated with 50 points. Otherwise, they wouldn't have any chance of winning the game today. Dryden team leader, Hiles Jr., turned to his teammates and said, whatever you do, we need to press the buzzer for the question first, even if we cannot answer it. Then, delay it until Ching managed to answer the snitch. Got it? You know, if we cannot answer, the other team will get the chance, right? His teammate replied. Yeah. But we can stall for time if, let's say, one of you suddenly has a medical emergency, Hiles Jr. said in a ruthless voice before giving a sharp pencil to his teammate who dared to question him. His teammates regretted his decision, and prayed inwardly that he didn't have to resort to the drastic action of poking his own nose with the sharp pencil to induce nosebleed in order to stop the event. The moderator tapped the microphone and spoke. Last question, what are dash? Before he could finish, the Dryden team had already pressed the buzzer. He turned to him and asked, so what is the answer? What is the question? Hiles Jr. asked. If you don't know, maybe you should have finished hearing it first, don't you agree? Right. Sorry. Hiles rubbed the back of his head apologetically, but he grinned inwardly as he managed to stall some time. What are the 3 parts of the soul that Plato describes? List and briefly explain? The moderator asked. Dryden Academy had already placed their hand above the buzzer before even finishing hearing the question. Although it was cheating, no one spoke to stop them. Unfortunately for them, Edward was still the first player to press the buzzer despite them trying to cheat. Oh, come on. How is that even possible? Hiles Jr. said. Alex. ETA? Edward asked with a whisper anxiously as he faced the judges alone. Just answer the question. Sanjay said, but not giving up on solving the equation. Edward sighed and spoke using the slowest pace he could. Plato's theory of the soul divides the soul into three parts. There is an appetitive part, epithemetican, that deals with bodily desires, a spirited part, thymoids, that deals with more reflective passions, and the rational part, logistican, that deals with thinking and truth. Perfect answer, Mr. Newgate. Leonard applauded, but then Hiles shouted, wait. We've solved the golden snitch. No, we don't. His teammate whispered to him. Just shut up and play along. Ching, how much longer? Hiles asked in frustration. Huh? You think I'm answering the question? The Chinese kid asked in confusion. Hiles asked, you're not? Then what are you writing? Well, I think Newgate's answer is great, so I'm taking some notes. Fuck you, Ching. Also, my name is Li Xian. The Asian kid added. Hiles grabbed his teammate's collar, and a rumble started at the losers' table. Franklin Middle High wins. Rajesh shouted using the microphone. The audience cheered for what was basically a one-man show by Franklin High, but then Sanjay stood up abruptly and said, I've solved it. His shout froze the entire venue, and people were holding their breath as he held the paper in his hands. Huh? Let me take a look. Leonard said and walked to the Franklin team table and read the team's solution to the problem. Leonard grinned and raised the paper up in the air before announcing, they captured the snitch. The audience stood up and exploded with thunderous applause. Leonard ran across the entire stage and showed the paper to the audience while ceremoniously shouting, they captured the snitch. They captured the snitch. But then the moderator threw some cold water to their enthusiasm. Unfortunately, Franklin Middle School was already announced as the winner. Therefore, the points from the Golden Snitch will not be added to the total. With a final score of 370 points, Franklin Middle School won the semi-final and advanced to participate in the final round of the decathlon today. The moderator announced, making the audience cheered once more. Edward POV. So. Damn. Close. I clicked my tongue as I turned to the rest of my team. Unexpectedly for me, all of them were still beaming up with smiles as they felt a sense of achievement to be the first people in the entire state to actually solve this high-level equation. I turned to Mrs. Henderson, who had a proud smile on her face, and nodded slightly as I finally understood her request before. Enid ran to the stage and hugged both Alex and I while saying, "Congratulations. I knew you guys could do it." Then, she faced only me before saying, "And Ed. That was legendary. You really humiliated those guys." I got turned on. Alex cupped Enid's mouth before I could hear the rest of what she was saying and said, "Let's go. We need to vacate the stage for the next game." Okay. Also Sanjay. I turned to the Indian kid who had tears in his eyes. "What?" he asked gruffly while trying to wipe his eyes. "Nice. Fucking works," I complimented in a calm tone, which made Sanjay beamed up in a smile. He then muttered, "Thanks. I also want to say something." "What?" I asked. Suddenly, he bowed to me and said, "I'm sorry I've been a jerk." I chuckled a bit and just waved it off. Just forget about it. I never did take it to heart. Liar. You hold the longest grudge among all people I know. Alex retorted. Then you know I will hold your words against you for a while, right? I replied to Alex with a cheeky smile as I patted Sanjay on the shoulder. Let's go eat. I'm starving. Me too. Haruna said. Yeah. I'm famished too. Sanjay said with a smile. We shook hands with the judges and the other player who couldn't even meet our eyes before we walked to Mrs. Henderson. I froze as the teacher suddenly hugged me the moment we arrived at her spot. Congratulations, Edward, she said as she brushed my back 3 times. What the hell? Why does this feel so familiar? I thought with my hands shaking. She didn't stay there for long and released me, only to find me frozen from her touch. However, she didn't say anything and went to hug Alex, Haruna, Enid, and a short hug for Sanjay. By the time she returned, I had already recovered back to normal. We won't have any matches until after lunchtime, so for now, you guys are free to do whatever you want, Mrs. Henderson said. I nodded and turned to Alex before asking, are you staying here? Yeah. I want to study the competition. Atlas is the team predicted to win the competition, so I want to see how good they are. The rest nodded at Alex's word except for Enid. Well, I'm going to explore. Good. Let's go together. Enid smiled and interlinked her arms with me before we went to the football field together to watch them practice. However, their practice was already over when we got there. Damn. I cursed. Hey Edward. Are you interested in football? Suddenly, I heard someone speaking with a Nigerian accent coming from behind me. Sam. Enid exclaimed in excitement. So, did you fail to make the team? I asked. Sam was downcast and said, yes. I guess I should just stick to the original football. In soccer, he was part of the under-15 Nigerian national team before he received a scholarship to come to Dryden, a scholarship which he only accepted because he thought football carried the same meaning here in America. It was a funny situation, even for him. I will return to Nigeria this weekend. He shared to me about his short experience in America, and the fact that he had no friends here. He couldn't wait to go back home, and back to his usual practice with his team there. Don't worry. I'm sure that you'll get another scholarship. Or maybe a contract with a football club. I wish. He said self-deprecatingly. We talked for a while, and I even threw a ball with Sam Abasanya a few times after taking off my blazer. We played American football, for I wanted him to at least have one good memory with this sport before he returned to his country. But, as I started sweating, I didn't want to ruin my shirt, therefore I took it off. Enid watched the show with a slight hum, crouching at the side of the field with a smitten look on her face, as I threw the ball towards Sam, which he in turn failed to receive it. You suck, Sam. I shouted at him teasingly. Go easy on me. This is the first time someone has actually taught me something. Sam shouted back helplessly. I laughed and encouraged him before we played for another 15 minutes. I even exchanged numbers with him given that he was generally well-mannered and a friendly guy. Enid's face was flushed red when I got back to her, and so I asked, you forgot to put on sunscreen? No. I'm fine. Enid said before she ran back to the venue, with heart full of excitement, and cameras full of pictures that she was going to share with Alex and Haruna. Then, we went to the cafeteria to get some lunch in the VIP section. I called all members of the team together, and also Mrs. Henderson instead of just having lunch with Enid, much to the young girl's dissatisfaction. We returned to the venue after lunch, just in time to watch the start for the match for third position, Dryden vs. Gamma. So, they're going to lose again. I muttered with a smirk as I saw the points, 50-10, with Gamma Conventional School taking the lead. They completely lost all motivation after you destroyed them, so what else can they do? Enid muttered. I had to say, I loved keeping her around. She truly knows how to appease my ego by flattering me. Ha! I exclaimed as I saw the leader of Atlas Middle School who was walking towards me. Hello, Edward. I'm Tara DeLavange. I love your songs. The blonde girl with a Catholic schoolgirl uniform and a voluptuous body that couldn't be hidden with her modest clothes offered her hand as she stood in front of me. I shook her hand while secretly comparing her with the same actress that had the same last name as her. But, the one in front of me had a nicer body than the flat-chested one in my memory. Thank you, Tara. Then, she suddenly changed her tone, and pulled me closer before whispering to my ears, but, I'm still going to destroy you. I smirked and replied, I look forward to it. The result of Atlas's win versus Gamma, 350-50. Chapter 105, Decathlon, 3. Edward POV. Also, can I get a picture? Tara asked with a light blush after making a burning declaration about winning the competition. Sure. I replied casually, and posed for a picture with her together. She gave her iPhone to her friend, who in turn snapped a few pictures of Tara and I, before changing the students a few times. Alex rolled her eyes at the incomprehensible treatment I was getting, and muttered, "Didn't she just say she's going to destroy us? Why are you being polite to her now?" My celebrity image and student image are two totally different things. I replied with a fake smile as I waved to my fans. Enid decided to make some trouble and said, "Didn't you just go easy on her because she's pretty?" Alex and Haruna perked up at the statement as they smelled gossip, and they stared at the Atlas team leader girl who was stealing glances at me. I sighed and said, "Let's go study." Although we already know Dryden is losing, it's still going to take a few hours until the final match. Why do we need to study? We have you. Enid said with sparkling eyes as she grabbed my arm and hugged it in between her tiny bumps. Her statement alarmed me, but it shook me much less compared to the attitude of others who were nodding in agreement to her. I turned to Mrs. Henderson, who shook her head in disappointment and gulped my saliva fearfully. "This is not the outcome I expected it to be," Mrs. Henderson muttered. When she inserted me into the team, her intention was to inject a new breath and make the team members more motivated. But my brilliance had completely outshined the others, making them forget that they had strength of their own to compete in this competition. "Students, please give your best in the next match, and stop depending on Mr. Newgate. He is not going to be here next year, but you all will," Mrs. Henderson advised, but no one was truly listening to her, except for Alex. "That reminds me of something. Have Edward's grades come back? Is he eligible for skipping grades?" Alex asked, hiding the fact that she wanted me to fail the test so that we could spend more time together in high school after waiting for her to graduate in a year. I had already submitted the result to the principal, and he's currently reviewing Mr. Newgate's application. I couldn't say anything about him skipping grades, but Mr. Newgate's performances in the examination are brilliant. He got full marks on all of the examinations except for history, in which he was short of 1 point to get full marks. "Huh? What question did I get wrong?" I asked in confusion. Mrs. Henderson showed a rare grin and said, "No, you answered everything right. But you didn't write your name on the exam paper." I rolled my eyes and retorted, "I was the only one taking the exams there." "Still, a mistake is a mistake, Mr. Newgate," Mrs. Henderson replied, her face turned stoic again. The Gamma and Dryden match became heated as Dryden managed to catch up on point and forced the game to a tie in the later rounds. While waiting, I tried to convince the team to involve themselves in answering the question with me, but only Alex was responding to my encouragement and was willing to try in the final match. Before the match began, I received text messages from Jenna, Elsa, Jacob, and even my disappearing aunt sending their prayers to add to my strength for me to win the competition. I sent them back a text saying it was unnecessary, which earned me a 3-minute phone call from my aunt in Cuba admonishing me for my blasphemous behavior. But even so, I was just glad to hear her voice again. The old moderator grabbed the microphone and declared, "The final match, between Atlas Middle School and Franklin Middle School, starts." The audience applauded his enthusiasm, but mostly they applauded because he looked so pitiful. Among the sparse applause sound reverberating in the venue, I leaned to Alex and spoke using a whisper to her ear. She blushed and blood rushed to her head as she felt my hot breath on her skin. "Alex, I won't interfere until you guys truly need me. Okay?" She was startled and turned her face towards me instantly, but as I had leaned in before, our face was extremely close with one another. She was agape for a second and her eyes lost focus as they stared at my lips before she shook her head and said, "You can't do that. I will participate if you guys are getting destroyed out there," I announced. Sanjay and Haruna gulped their saliva in fear as they heard my statement and protested, "But, we're not as fast as you." The Japanese girl belief had been reignited after the complete destruction of Dryden Academy, which earned them the last spot in today's competition between 4 schools. They lost against Gamma a few minutes ago, and the sight wasn't pretty. At least 2 chairs were broken, and 2 students suffered bodily injuries from the scuffle happening on stage. The school was banned from further competition for at least 3 years because of the incident.
Don't worry. I noticed that Atlas wasn't quick in answering their questions.
They discussed it among themselves before they answered it, and that's what made their team so strong.
We will do it like them, but it's up to you three to discuss it. I will handle the snitch this time.
Haruna was in disbelief and blinked a few times before gritting her teeth in frustration.
She and Sanjay didn't say anything despite their disappointment, as the match was finally starting.
Sitting across the participants, a member of the panel had tissue rolled up into his nose as it was broken from the scuffle.
Poor Leonard.
I muttered as I shook my head in pity for the Caltech physicist. His jacket was a bit torn, and his hair was pulled during the fight. He sat at the judges' table with dazed eyes as he silently cursed his luck and wondered if it was better for him if Sheldon had kept his job as the panel member. Rajesh was snapping pictures of Leonard as he sat beside him with a grin on his face while Howard laughed at the audience seat. Sheldon was worried for Leonard at first, but then he felt that he deserved to be beaten after his betrayal before this.
Release the golden snitch, Rajesh said shyly into the microphone.
Atlas had 3 girls and 1 boy in their team, causing Rajesh to be overwhelmed. But as they were still kids for him, and he was in a public space, his selective mutism didn't affect him that much rather than him just being shy in the setting. The staff member revealed the golden snitch question, which baffled Atlas's team completely when they saw it.
The question is based on Fermat's last theorem, and it's created by Dr. Sheldon Cooper, who's in the audience seat.
This unique formula is worth 500 points if you guys could solve it.
My advice? Just ignore them, Leonard said with a nasally tone. Hey! Sheldon retorted from the audience seat.
I solved it when I was 13.
It's easy enough for them. Leonard turned to him and scowled. You graduated high school at 11.
You cannot compare your experience with the others. I was confused as to why Leonard was so mad, but I couldn't ask him about it now. I would learn later that Sheldon had underplayed the difficulty of the equation when he submitted the equation to the staff member before. It was impossible for a middle school level student to solve the question unless they took 7 years of college level mathematics. The Atlas team had completely given up on the snitch, but right now I was in a dilemma. Should I solve that, or shouldn't? The first question, what is the difference between a proton and a neutron? The moderator asked. Alex's eyes lit up and she pressed the buzzer immediately, startling both Sanjay and Haruna. She answered for a while with the panels and the moderator listening to her intently. That is correct. 10 points for Franklin Middle School. The moderator muttered. The audience clapped, and I patted Alex's head gently to praise her. Good job. She blushed a little and said, thanks. But that is just a basic question. Yeah. That question I asked kinda basic, huh? Haruna muttered to herself. The final match has 30 questions after all. They add 10 more questions compared to the other matches. I'm sure they just throw a few easy questions into the mix. Sanjay said as he fell into deep contemplation. But even the easy questions are points. So do your best, I said to encourage them. Second question, what component must be equal for a chemical system to be in equilibrium? The moderator asked. I don't know that, Haruna muttered. Alex rubbed her chin and said, I read it before. But I'm not confident. Sanjay turned to the team member and said, I think I know. Alex, is it? They discussed amongst themselves for a few seconds before they all turned to me. I shrugged and said, I'm not telling you whether you're right or wrong. Believe in yourself. Alex clicked her tongue in dissatisfaction before pressing the buzzer and answering, the rate of the forward reaction, and the rate of the reverse reaction. That is correct. Leonard replied with a nasally tone as his nostril was still blocked by the tissue. The audience applauded, and even Mrs. Henderson smiled slightly as she applauded for the team. Third question, what is the best indication that increases in atmospheric carbon dioxide are of anthropogenic origin? The moderator asked. The Atlas team leader, Kara, immediately pressed the buzzer as she heard it and answered, comparing atmospheric composition from before the Industrial Revolution to the present.
Correct answer.
10 points for Atlas.
Leonard said. Kara jumped in excitement before waving at me with a blush as she sat back down.
Alex glared at the Atlas team and muttered, "Guys, let's destroy them." As the match became heated, I was focusing on the golden snitch question, which was otherwise known as Fermat's last theorem. This equation was first posed by French mathematician Pierre de Fermat in 1637, and had stumped the world's brightest minds for more than 300 years. It was solved in 1994, but like Leonard said, the question is too hard for this current middle school student level.
I muttered. But it is a basic question far into the future though.
I grabbed the yellow notepad nearby and used a pen instead of a pencil to answer the question.
The hypothesis said that there are no whole number solutions to the equation xn plus yn equals zn when n is greater than 2. This is what I need to prove.
To answer the question, I need to combine three complex mathematical fields of modular forms, elliptic curves, and Galois representations.
But can I finish this in time? Or will it be worthless?
I murmured to myself as I continued writing on another piece of paper. I glanced at my teammates who were answering the question with a burning gaze in their eyes.
Well, I guess I should hurry,
I said with a proud smile on my face as my team managed to keep their lead in answering the questions.
General POV.
Outside of the venue, the Dryden team was standing facing Mr. Hiles, the disgraced panel member who got kicked out for his lack of knowledge. He smacked Hiles Jr. head with a rolled-up paper and said angrily, "You guys are fucking useless." The prestige of the private school had been completely shattered after they lost to a meager public school, and now, Mr. Hiles was called by the board member to discuss the repercussions of this incident. He would be lucky if he managed to keep his job after this. Hiles Jr. rubbed his sore head and said, "This is all Newgate's fault."
If he weren't there, does it matter what you say now?
Mr. Hiles glared at his son. The young boy whimpered and took a step back in fear of being hit again. Mr. Hiles suddenly thought of something and flashed an evil grin.
"Well, Newgate. Is the one responsible for this. So, we shouldn't let him go so easily, right?" He took out his phone and called someone. "Hey Tyler. You're still a reporter? Do you know Edward Newgate?"
In Franklin Middle School, the school session was finally over. Jenna waved goodbye to Elsa before getting into her driver's car and was driven back home, unaware of the black SUV following her car from behind. Jenna texted Alex and Edward to find out the result of the competition, but none of them replied.
"I guess it hasn't ended yet."
She pursed her lips and muttered in dissatisfaction.
Edward POV.
The score was now 270 to 260, with Atlas taking the lead after managing to answer a 50-point worth of question before this. I was a bit hesitant to continue keeping my hands away from the competition, but as I turned to glance at my teammates, I saw that they hadn't given up yet.
There's still 3 questions, 2 of which have 50 points each.
I don't know what's the value for the last one, but I'm sure it'll be higher than the rest of the questions today.
Alex planned.
We still have a chance to turn this thing around.
I nodded and said, "That's true."
I flipped the paper I was writing upside down to prevent anyone seeing it and said, "Also, you guys could count me in the game."
Alex scoffed and said, "Nah.
You just stay still.
We got this."
I was taken aback at first and laughed loudly soon after, causing the entire audience to look at me.
Alex was confused, but I ignored her questioning looks. "Okay. I will sit tight. But if you guys don't know the answer, I will take the lead. Is that a deal?" "Deal."
X3. Enid was clasping her hands together and praying for our success. Next to her, Sam Avasanya was also praying, but in the Muslim way of praying by raising both of his hands parallel to his chest.
"Please, help Edward's team win," Sam prayed. "Ditto," Enid muttered. We are now down to the final 3 questions.
Next question required the students to calculate, therefore you can use the A4 paper provided in front of you.
The moderator said before asking, "What percent of a circle is 75 degrees?" Without even calculating, Haruna pressed the buzzer. Atlas's team gasped in disbelief, and so did the members of her own team. I looked quizzically at Haruna, but then she answered, 20.8%. That is correct. The crowd applauded, and the team managed to take the lead again with 310 points compared to Atlas's 270 points. How did you calculate so fast? Alex asked Haruna in disbelief. No. I didn't calculate it just now. I had answered the question before in my workbook. Haruna confessed while lowering her head in embarrassment. I nodded and said, "Don't be ashamed. You did great. I always know we can count on you with maths problems, and I was right." Alex and Sanjay agreed with me. But right then, my phone suddenly vibrated. I had put it in silent mode before, and was confused as to who was calling me right now. I wanted to ignore it as the moderator was giving the next question. But why do I feel so uneasy? I wondered. Hold up! I suddenly shouted, causing the old moderator to be startled. He held his heart quickly, and breathed heavily for a few seconds, but fortunately the worst didn't happen, and his heart was still strong enough. "What is the matter, Edward?" Leonard asked. "I got a call," I replied casually. All of the people in the venue looked at me in disbelief, but I ignored them and answered the call after checking the caller ID. "Hello? Jenna?" My chest tightened as I heard the anxious sobbing sound coming from the other side of the call. "Ed, help me," she said in a whisper. My face turned cold, and I stood up from my seat abruptly. Alex held my arm and said, "Where are you going? What happened?" I gave her my paper and said in a cold tone, "You're the leader now. Turn this in when you feel it's necessary. There's an emergency that I need to attend to right now." "Oh, okay," Alex replied. I ran down the stage amidst the murmur of the crowd, while Enid replaced me on the stage. When I was almost out of the venue, Mrs. Henderson stopped me by standing in front of the door. "Teach. I'm sorry. I need to go now," I said anxiously. "I know. But, can you do me a favor?" she said in a still calm tone, causing me to be perplexed. "What?" I asked hurriedly. "I picked up this car key outside on the grass. I think they belong to the vice principal. When you come back, help me return the key to him, can you?" I was taken aback at first, but I grabbed the key urgently and said, "Okay. I will give it back to him later." "Good. Now, I can go back and watch our team win," Mrs. Henderson said with a slight smile as she patted my shoulder. "Go. Hurry," she whispered. I nodded and ran to the parking lot where a bunch of semi-luxurious cars were parked. I pressed the car key, and it connected to a double-seat convertible of the Porsche brand in bright red color. Without thinking much, I opened the car door and activated the engine. I wore my earphone and played a song as I pressed the pedal. Song playing, Teriyaki Boys, Tokyo Drift. General POV. Let's continue with the game," Leonard said using the microphone after Edward's sudden departure from the venue. The old moderator took a deep breath, but before he could ask the next question, the door to the hall they were in burst open. A crowd of paparazzi rushed into the venue, flashes of camera photography illuminated the stage. Alex covered her eyes with her hand from the malicious picture snapping, but then the crowd suddenly stopped. "Wait. Edward Newgate isn't here," a paparazzo murmured. "What the hell did you guys think you're doing?" Kara exploded at the paparazzis, her head still spinning from the flashes of lights. The paparazzis were disappointed, and they murmured amongst themselves. "Where did Edward Newgate go? Did he leave? Hiles said he's going to be here. Hey, my car is stolen." "Huh? A police chase is ongoing? A red Porsche? I will be right there." That wraps up this part of What If Karmic Gacha System in Modern Family World. Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.